Perfect. So, again, Miss Armbrister, I wanted to first say thank you for again taking the time out of your busy schedule to meet with Behind the Game to again just in the name itself provide us some game of first yourself and then also about the industry of the sports industry all in all. And I guess before, we kind of dive into the questions and everything like that, if you could just tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am Sydney Armbrister. I currently work as a senior manager of partnership activation with DC United. I've been there for about 2 years. Used to work in the minor league space prior to that. I'm originally from Miami, Florida, but have somehow made the DMV my home for now. Um, and yeah, I've been working in sports for probably well, gym industry plus sports, probably like 5 years or so. And I've been loving it. So excited to get to talk to you and get this conversation going.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. So before we kind of start and dive into everything, wanted to ask you, people always say I wanted to be in sports because of this and that. What was kind of your, roadmap? What got you into sports in general?
So that's funny. Like I didn't necessarily say that. Like, oh, I knew I wanted to work in sports.
Mm.
I've been an athlete my whole entire life, like played volleyball at the Division 1 college level. Shout out to Delaware State.
And,
So played there, and then I graduated there initially. Well, I graduated with my bachelor's in exercise science because I was pretty certain I wanted to become like a physical therapist or an occupational therapist. And then I had an extra year of eligibility to play. So I wasn't going to play at first. And then a new coach came in and he was like, why don't you come back and I'll pay for you to get a master's degree.
mhm.
And it was a 1 year degree. So had to find something that I could do in a year. And they had a sports administration program at Dell State. And I was like, why not? It's like a business degree with sports. Like, I like sports. I like learn business. So
Yeah.
I decided to do it. And that's kind of when like my brain opened up to the world of sports and like business and sport and working in sport and marketing and everything that goes into that. Because I obviously knew I'd been, like I said, around sports my whole life, been to lots of professional kinds of games, but you just don't think about everything that goes into like one game, one event when you're there all the time.
Yeah.
So kind of learning and seeing that scope kind of opened my eyes and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And that's kind of where I kind of started to get into sports and was working at the gym at the time for a couple of years. And then I was like, no, I think I want to get more into the sports world. And that's exactly what I did. So I don't know, I don't want to say I always knew I was going to work in sports, but sports has always been a part of my life. And when the opportunity presented itself, I was like, oh, hell yeah, this is cool.
So, and so you talked about being, again, former athlete, amazing athlete
Mhm.
at the D1 level. When you're trying to be in the mindset of having to like balance everything as an athlete, like
Yeah.
how did you stay organized and stay sane through that whole entire process?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard, but it's something you have to kind of like learn as you go through it.
Mhm.
Um, I was an athlete all through high school as well, so I kind of started to learn kind of how to juggle. Granted, when you're in high school, you do have more of support of like your parents taking you everywhere and like your parents kind of reminding you to do all those things. My shout out to my parents because they did a great job and like definitely kind of instilled that like balance. Like, okay, if you want to play sports, you have to make sure you get good grades. And if you want to stay eligible, you have to make sure you get good grades. And so like that was always kind of ingrained in me. I was a student first, then an athlete. And I always try to say that to student athletes because like it's great. It's really important that you get to play your sport at a collegiate level, but not what happens after college. You know, not everybody gets to play on professionally. So that was one thing for me. And getting to college, I kind of just kept a lot of those best practices and things that worked for me. I am such a planner. I write everything down. I have my own planner. That's one thing that's always kept me sane forever. And when you have lift at 6 a.m. and then you have class at 8 a.m. and then you have study hall for through 2 hours and you have practice for 3 hours, like you need to be able to like dedicate time and write things down and remember things because when you have all that going on, you'll forget things. It's bound to happen. So yeah, I was a big like planner. I wrote down, always had a calendar, always wrote things down. And that's kind of one way I stayed balanced and sane. And
Yeah.
then another way is just you kind of also have to remember, well, school's important and getting your education important and your sports important, you also have to have like a life balance with
Yeah.
that and have friends.
Hmm.
Um, and that's something that you also have to learn to work into your schedule. Like that sounds so not fun, but it's something you really have to because if you're only doing like school and sports all the time, you're gonna kind of lose yourself in that and not in the best way. So yes, I was a big planner, calendars, wrote everything down. That's how I stayed sane.
Man, okay, okay. So, and I saw this on socials today, how people are saying that you need to put every aspect of your day in your calendar to stay kind of organized. For you,
Yeah.
is that same sort of layout, or is it just like I put the most important events? Like, I guess what does that layout look like?
Mm. I don't put everything in my calendar. That'd be crazy.
Yeah,
But I can see why people would want to do that, like
yeah.
especially if you don't have the best knowledge or best memory, sorry, not knowledge, memory, and like we'll forget things.
Mm,
I usually write down like all the important things. So if I have like obviously all my work meetings, I also have two calendars, like personal and work.
okay.
So like work obviously is like all my important client meetings that I have coming up, any kind of events that we have. If I also like if I'm going on PTO, I'll put that on that calendar as well to kind of just plan work stuff around. And then I have my personal calendar. I'll put like any big work events on my personal calendar that need to happen. Obviously, like any kind of like appointments and stuff that I have, or any extracurricular activities that I will forget, I'll
Mhm.
write down.
Yeah.
I don't put everything because then it like that stresses me out
Yeah,
sometimes when you're like looking, you're like, dang, I don't have 10 minutes of my day. So,
bro. Okay, okay. So, and honestly, again, thank you for that because that's notes for me. Because again, I'm trying to still get in the practice of using my calendar because
mhm,
me and my calendar have a very complicated relationship right now. So I
that's
think,
real.
again, I'm trying to get these notes together and stuff like that. But let me take a transition. So
Mhm.
we just got our masters. We've finished, the program. What is kind of a word that reminds you of being back in that time and just trying to get
Ooh.
ready for your next steps?
Um, that is a great question. I would say a little bit confused.
Okay.
That was a very weird time for me personally because it was like I got my master's, which was great, and like
Hmm.
got be able to have 2 degrees with no college debt, like that's a blessing.
Amen.
And I was working at Orange Theory at the time and kind of like working my way up the chain, but I was just kind of like a part of your life ends when you're like a student athlete, especially when you've been doing that for at that point almost half my life,
Hmm.
like playing sports. And then all of a sudden it was like, all right, that's it. You're
Yeah.
done playing.
Mhm.
So I think it was like it kind of hit me like a ton of bricks, honestly, like after I finished getting my master's and I was like, okay, now I'm really done with
Yeah.
volleyball, like no more of that in my life. And it's like, really, what is the next step? It definitely, and when I say confused, it was more just like a time of figuring out who I was without being like, oh, that's Sydney, the volleyball player.
Mhm.
She plays volleyball at Cal State. You know what I mean? Like that was always my thing. And then when that kind of like ended, I was like, who the hell am I? But that kind of time frame, I was just obviously still working at Orange Theory and kind of just seeing what I really wanted to do. It took me probably another like year or two to kind of figure that out while I was working at Orange Theory, which was a great organization and great job to work for during that time. I learned a lot just about like running a business and sales, which I feel like has played a lot into my roles today. But it was just a little, yeah, a little confusing. But it was also like a time of I could really do whatever I wanted, and kind of figure that out the way that works best for me. Yeah, I'd say confused. Sorry, that's a little like sad word, but it was definitely confusing.
I think, and I think that's honest because I think a lot of
Mhm.
times, like when, like you said, when you're used to doing something for such a long time, it's like, all right, like who am I now? Like you said. So
Yeah,
what was your process to figure out who you are? Like, like,
it's a great question. I So, like I said, I was like in a pretty good steady job and I knew kind of like where I wanted to go. Like I was like, okay, I think I want to work in sports, like, but I didn't. know how to really get there. So my mom, shout out to my mom, she it has like a great network of people. She was working at a university. I'm from Miami, so she was working at a university in Miami at the time, and she worked in like their alumni department. And so she got to meet a bunch of very cool alumni and would always be like, "Oh my God, my daughter wants to do what you do," whether that was true or not. But she would always just kind of plug me in whenever she could. So I honestly, I got introduced to Clara Stroud Vasquez, who is the chief of culture at the Miami Heat. She's been there like she started there as an intern and is still there. Like she's the GOAT. She's the best. Um, she connected me with her. I also was like a counselor to her daughter at the time. So, and her daughter's name was Sydney. So we connected on that level, and it was kind of just like a personal relationship. I picked the hell out of her brain. We
Okay.
would like go to lunch, we would have calls, and like I was just like, where do you think I could fit in? Like she would like look at my resume, ask me about like my skills and things, and she kind of opened my eyes to like lanes of, all right, I know I know you know you want to work in sport, like how do you get there? This is what the jobs you have to apply. Her as well as like a couple other alumni that were like I got connected with some guy from the NBA and another man who was like head of their sports management program at the school my mom was working at. So it was just I got to talk to a lot of people and kind of see and take a lot of advice and do a lot of things. I started working on like different certifications that I thought could be helpful. Um, so I would say that's kind of how I started to figure out what I wanted. And obviously, I just kind of started looking online more and reading job descriptions and being like, does this sound like something I would be good at? Does this not sound like something I could be good at? Because I didn't have like that direct sports experience, like the internship and like joining an inside sales program or whatever. I didn't have any of that yet, but I had a lot of transferable skills based off like me getting my master's and working at Orange Theory that could transfer into the sports world. So yeah, it was a lot of like networking, talking to people, and really just like picking their brain about what they do and why they love it and why they love working in sports.
I want to highlight something that you said when it comes to being like a good mentee, because I think this is something I'm still working on for myself. Like, how do you ask the right questions to a mentor? You know?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you kind of have to ask the wrong questions to kind of figure out the right questions. And like, you really, I would say my advice would be that you really have to figure out what is the goal of this conversation. I am trying to figure out this, that, and the third, and
Mhm.
come up, and even if it's a crap ton of questions, like these are the questions I need to ask to kind of get to that point. Um, and that's what I would do. And obviously, like doing your research on who you're talking to is super important. Because it's like if you just know their current job and current job position, who knows? Maybe they had a job 10 years ago, but that's the exact job that you want right now. So
Exactly.
like look at their history, look about what they do. And yeah, I would just say my biggest advice is like find the goal, find your goal of that conversation and make sure that you kind of ask the questions to get you there.
Amen. Okay. Okay. I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Hopefully that was helpful. That's what I do.
No, no, I think that's perfect because again, like as someone and people that are trying to get into the industry, I think a lot of times we, of course, want to know, how do I get there? We want to know what
Right.
my resume need to look like, but I guess structuring kind of how that conversation is going to go is
Hmm.
also essential as well. And I think sometimes I even forget about doing that, and I sometimes try to go in and wing it and see
Yeah.
what falls. But again, you got to be strategic. So I kind of want to highlight Delaware State again because again, you know, HBCU love, got to
Hmm.
connect. What is a memory that stood out to you while being there?
Ooh, everything. It was like I always say this to people. It was one I best times of my life
Yeah.
going to Delaware State. I and my parents were like, "You're going from Miami to Delaware. Like, what the hell is in Delaware?" And everybody who I said that to, like, "Oh, I'm going to Delaware State," they were like, "Why?" And I was like, "Free education, and it's an HBCU," and I did not have the privilege. I mean, Miami's a very cultured city and lots of people that look like me, but I definitely grew up going to more predominantly white schools.
Mhm.
So like it was always like me and like 10 other black kids, even less than 10, like me and five other black girls. So it was very like I was always the minority growing up and then playing volleyball there was like one, it was me
Yeah.
and everyone else on the team. That was it. So
Okay.
I was very excited to kind of be in a place where I looked around and everybody, for the most part, looked like me.
Okay.
And like we're all studying and learning and getting smarter and having a blast. One thing I would say that really like stood out to me, and I was like, holy crap, I go to an HBCU. This is so cool. It was like my freshman year. I wasn't even playing because I had torn my ACL, but it was our freshman year, and they do like kind of like a fall, what is the word? Like rally kind of for the fall
Yeah.
sports where they come and like the
Hmm.
gym is packed and they like announce all the people. And it was just like so cool. And that was kind of like my first time like being a Division I volleyball player and like getting that kind of like love and like and
Okay.
it was like the gym was packed and it was like great music and they had all like the sororities and fraternities and like it was just very much like HBCU culture and I was like, oh, this is freaking awesome. And it was just yeah, you just can't even really describe it because like I was just with my friends from college. Like there's a group of four of us and it's like best times of our life, literally. And to be able to be around so many smart people that look like you
Mhm.
is super important, kind of like as you're developing yourself and figuring out yourself. And that was definitely still a time in my life where I was,
Mhm.
and being able to have the support of, again, so many people that look like me and professors that look like me.
Exactly.
And like, it's important. So yeah, I'd say that's one of my favorite memories, but that's like 10 out of 10 would never change that ever.
Amen. Amen. The ones that know, know.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Love that. Love that.
Mhm.
So let's take a jump. So now we're in our career. We're at DC United.
Yeah.
We're, again,
Mhm.
we're figuring out the space, but now we've also gotten comfortable being in the space. What,
Yeah.
what's something that kind of has stood out to you while being in your role? And now, again, congratulations to the promotion. Like
Thank you.
what's kind of stood out within that, your new role now?
Yeah. One thing, and I'll kind of start when I first started at DC United, it's funny, I feel like I can talk to a wall, but sometimes when I like get into these meetings with bigger meetings and higher up people, like I used to be so quiet and just didn't like speak my opinion or like give my 2 cents on things as often as I do now. Um, and I would say Sydney 2 years ago, from Sydney to now, senior manager Sydney, I am like, it's like night and day.
Okay.
And one, my boss is awesome, and she has kind of like forced me to do that. And she's like, you have a lot of good things to say, you need to say it.
Mhm.
And so like she's also a woman, shout out to woman. And like I just feel like that's one thing that has always like has grown with me. And I feel like has matured and I've grown in my role in this right now. Being a senior manager, it feels great. And getting the promotion was obviously great. And like I felt like my hard work was being recognized. One cool thing that now, since I'm in this position, is that I was able to hire somebody to work underneath me, which is very important because like at the end of the day, I want to long-term goal, like run a department, run an organization of some sort. So like being able to kind of have that practice again now and be able to also help somebody grow into whoever they want to be. Like I love that. So that's like probably one of the most exciting things that has happened with this promotion. Just being able to kind of have bring somebody else on our team and help obviously help reach our department's goals and like the organization's goals. But like it's been a blast. Her name's Ella. She started like a month ago. So it's been really, really great to be able to kind of help somebody grow. And also, like, she helps me grow in
No,
my career as well.
no, that's amazing. So because a lot of people, when they think of partnerships, they think
Hmm.
of, branding, activations, Nike, Adidas, so on and so
Yeah.
forth, team. What is corporate sponsorships? When you hear that phrase, what does that mean to you?
Yeah. So I always, and when people ask when I'm like, oh, I work in partnerships, sponsorships, and sports, they're like, okay. Like, and I'm like, okay. So you go to Audi Field,
Yeah.
Audi, that's a partnership. Like the fact that they have naming rights to that stadium, or like whenever you're watching a basketball game and it's like this first quarter was presented by DraftKings, which
Mm.
is crazy, but that is a thing. And that is a partnership. So like that's kind of how I like to explain it to people. But a partnership in a sponsorship are kind of different in my eyes, what I've been learning. So a sponsorship is really just like when a brand is like, let's say you're having a charity basketball game and Nike is like, all right, here is $30 million to have your charity basketball game, have so much fun,
Mhm.
but also make sure our logo is where it needs to be. Versus a partnership, while Nike may still be giving us $30 million, we work together to kind of help build the brand. So whether that's events, like campaigns, different things. So it's not just like, here's the money, have fun. It is more of like a relationship. And my job specifically is I don't really handle new business or new partnerships. Once a partnership has been signed, then it's passed over to me and I help bring it to life and activate it and make sure that all the assets that are in that partnership are making sure they're happening. And then obviously when that partnership is up for renewal, my goal is to renew the partnership and hopefully make them spend more money when they come back and renew for a couple more years. So it's definitely a lot of my job is about relationships and maintaining relationships and making sure that our partners are happy or like if they're looking for different things they want to do and being a little like creative on their assets. That's a lot of what I do. I like to say I just talk to people all day and make sure that they're happy. That is kind of in layman's terms what I do, but it's a lot more like we do a lot of events. All like the signage you see inside the stadium, I'm responsible for that. So it's a big folder of everything, but that's what I would say, kind of like the differences in what comes to my head.
Okay, so again, as a student, I didn't realize, again, sponsor, here's the money, do what you do with it as you wish.
Yes.
Partnership, let's both gain something out of this and try to build together in layman's
Yes.
terms, if that makes.
Yes.
Okay, wow. So again, like, thank you for kind of breaking that down because a lot of times when you see, I guess, these flashing brands pop up in during games and in the stadium, you're like, all right, like for a long time, I was like, I thought that stuff just was the exact same thing. So thank you for breaking that.
Yeah.
So I'll say in a day to day, like when you're on these calls, like what is, if you can talk about it, what does that look like?
My day to day, you said?
Yes.
So yeah, so like my day to day is literally probably like a bunch of partner, like either bi-weekly calls, weekly calls, monthly calls I have with my accounts. I manage about like 15, 12 to 15 accounts. And so I don't have weekly meetings with all my partners, but some of them I do, whether that's monthly, bi-weekly, and kind of just doing like status meetings. So checking in that we're at a good point in the contract. If there's any other assets that we haven't acted on yet that we need to like start looking at, let's talk about it. If let's say we're talking about an event that just happened, like that kind of thing. And then a lot of my day to day is partnerships is one of the department, I mean, all the departments in sports organizations work together, but like partnerships work with every single department, whether you like it or not. We are with marketing, social, like video, operations, events, like we work with everybody. So a lot of the time, sales, ticketing, we have like bi-weekly meetings with different departments. So we have like one with events, we have one with ticketing, we have one with ops. So it's just like different social media, like so different things that we have where it's just pretty much like, hey, my three partners have these social media things we need to start talking about. My two partners have two events coming up in about 6 months. One of my partners is planning on renting out the stadium and hosting an event here. So like, let's talk about that. So it's pretty much just like again, still talking about the assets that either we need to activate on or haven't activated on yet, and just working with those departments together. So that's really like what my day is, a ton of meetings, talking to people. But it gets a lot more fun on like game days or event days when we're like working activations and actually seeing people more in person and face to face. Like that's my favorite time.
So, and to kind of add on to that, so a lot of times people see the exciting aspects of sports. You know, they see the game day, they see the activation. What is kind of the most surprising part of your job that most people wouldn't realize is, a part of it?
Ooh, surprising part of my job. I think, and it's funny, this is like you're gonna be like, duh, but some people like don't realize how how long of days you can have like working in sports. Like
Okay.
you're like when you're coming to a game, right? You're coming to the basketball game from 7:30 to 10:30,
Yeah.
whatever, 3 hours of your day. That person on on the activation team is probably there since 8 a.m. since 8 a.m., getting signage ready, getting activations ready, partners are loading in. If let's say there's events going on, like days can be very long some days.
Mhm.
Like a game day for us, kickoff is at 7:30, gates open at 6. We're usually there by like 1, 2 o'clock. And then we leave by like 10:30. So 10:30, 11. So it's long days. And sometimes I think people just are like, oh, you guys don't just show up before the game. Like it's actually a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
I would say that's surprising to people when I'm like, oh yeah, I have to be at work early. My friends are like, why? And I'm like, because
Yeah.
I have to go prep for the game that
Right.
we have coming up.
Right.
So I would say that's really surprising. And yeah, I don't know. Sports can look very glamorous. And obviously we try really hard to make it look glamorous, but it's not always that glamorous. I'll
Amen.
say that.
Okay, so now we're kind of transitioning into the section of the interview where it's, give us game.
Yeah.
You've already been giving us a lot of game within, the interview all in all. But to kind of direct it, let me ask you this first thing. If you had to
Mhm.
start over today with zero connections, how would you
Ooh.
break into sports?
Ooh. I don't know. That's a great question. How would I break into sports if I had zero connections?
Yeah.
Honestly, in this day and age in 2026, I would probably do something like you, like what you're doing with this whole behind the game thing, and probably get a little more creative, like on social media,
Okay.
and try to engage people more that way, whether that's like starting my own little podcast or just kind of like doing my own like blog about sports and kind of just trying to reach people in that front. I would probably, because I see so many people younger than me, I'm not old, but like people younger than me, like doing like all these like amazing things,
Yeah.
like with podcasts and even like the conference that you guys had. And I was like, whoa, I just was not that creative. I also wasn't sure I wanted to work in sports, but like if I could do things ever and had no connections, I would do that. Especially like we live in such a modern era. Technology is everywhere and it's not going anywhere. And like kind of being able to tap into that world and connect with people in that front and kind of establish yourself like that. And obviously that will bring you a lot of connections, bring you a lot of eyes. Like I would probably do it like that. Um, yeah, I'd probably kind of start there and then see what I can break into.
True. Okay. So, second question. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Second one, what is one piece of career advice that you actually disagree with?
One piece of career advice. Interesting. Um, that's a hard question because
Mhm.
I don't want to be me.
No, we got
Um,
we, we got to get honest though. We got to be honest.
I would say one piece of thing, information. Internships are great. Like, I think they do great things, and you get to meet a lot of people and get a lot of hours under your belt. I don't think people should be doing unpaid internships.
Ooh,
I
okay.
don't think people should be doing unpaid, especially in sports,
Bro.
just because it can, we have interns and like we ask them to do a ton. And like interns are great and very smart and bring fresh ideas, but I don't think people should be doing unpaid internships. I also think that networking can sometimes outweigh a cool internship that you had.
Mhm.
And knowing the right people at the right time can outweigh an internship that you had. That would be mine. And I'm not saying don't do internships and don't do unpaid internships. I just think sports, as I've learned and keep learning, sports is a lot about who you know, who you know at the right time, and kind of making sure that you're tapping into those people when
Bro.
you should.
Bro. Okay. Okay. And this helps me transition to my very last question.
Cool.
And this is a little on the spot, but
Okay.
everyone always asks, what's your favorite book? What's a life quote that you live by? If you can make a quote for you, for I guess life in general
Mm-hmm.
that you can give to us, what would that quote be?
Wow. Quote. I would probably say, so I'm a big advocate of like confidence, having it, like having courage, faking it until you make it has
Mhm.
always been a big quote I kind of live by.
Yeah.
Like, I may not. see, I may not be at that level yet, but I'm gonna act like I am
Amen.
and present myself as that person so I can reach that level. So I would say I'm gonna like add on to my fake it till you make it, but have the confidence to keep going because I don't know. Damn, that's a good question. Fake it till you make it, but have the confidence to keep going because if you always have like confidence and courage to fall back on, you'll always like be able to push yourself. I don't know, or something like that. That's something that I've always lived in, and in the sports world, like it can be so you can feel like you're not, oh, I shouldn't be here, or I don't have the experience to be there. Like, yes, you do, act like it. Even if you don't, act like it. Present yourself like that. Talk to those people, have the confidence, have the courage. Because if you present yourself that way, people will respect you, people will remember you. Um, so that's my quote. Not really a quote, but
No,
that's my quote.
that's a bar. I'll take that. We'll take that. I appreciate it. Again,
Cool.
Miss Armbrister, I appreciate you for doing this interview, for taking the time to provide us some game and help us again learn more about you because I learned some new things and we've had convos
Cool.
before. So
Yeah.
again, if students can reach out to you, what if if you have time, what would be the
Yeah.
best form to contact you?
Probably my email
Okay.
or or LinkedIn. LinkedIn, but it has to be a really good message.
What's a okay? And I'm sorry, I can ramble, but what is a
Yes.
good LinkedIn message? Because I know a lot of times, like what does it got to be? Talk to me.
I like when I will find myself responding more to people that are like, "Hey, Sydney." I also love talking to people, and for college students specifically, let me go back a second. I love talking to college students specifically that are like interested in partnerships and like if you are come to me in an approachable way that's like doesn't sound like you got something off ChatGPT and like took 5 seconds to look at my LinkedIn profile and maybe be like, hey, saw this cool thing you did. Saw you used to play volleyball. Saw you went to Dell State. Like that kind of thing. And maybe that's just me being like, ooh, I love when people look at me and like look at things that I've done. But like, I'm like, hey, I remember your message. You brought up volleyball. And like those little things make a difference to me. Um, I don't always like when it's messages like, "Hey, Sydney, great to connect. I'm a graduating senior. Would
Mhm.
love to learn more about you." Like, why? You
Bro.
know what I mean?
Okay.
So something that just connects a little bit more.
Mm,
But I check my LinkedIn messages pretty often. So if it's a good one, I will respond.
okay. Okay, then. Ma'am, I appreciate you. And again, thank you so much.
Of course, this was great. Let me know if you ever want to chat again.
All right.